Part 2, Blood and Echoes. October 14th, 1889, Limehouse, East London. The alley behind St. Jude's orphanage stank of rotting meat and stagnant water. Limehouse was always a maze of narrow streets and dock smoke, but here in this forgotten back corner, the fog seemed thicker, like a blanket left to mould. A cat darted past, knocking over a tin bucket that clattered loudly against brick, breaking the silence like a pistol shot. Detective Inspector Margaret Holloway stood beside the body. The second in what Scotland Yard was beginning to call the J murders. Her face was unreadable as she knelt beside the corpse, this one less fresh than the last. The girl had been found yesterday morning, but only now did Holloway have the time to study her fully. Too many corpses, not enough sense. Beatrice Vale, said the constable standing behind her. Age 26, laundress, lived 2 streets away. No known family. No known family, Holloway echoed. Then who buried her in silk? She pointed to the fabric covering the girl's body, a swatch of fine violet silk draped with unnatural care. It wasn't a blanket, it was a stage curtain. She recognised the weave. I'll want to speak to her landlord, Holloway said, and anyone who saw her in the last week. The constable nodded and stepped away, but Holloway didn't rise. Her eyes lingered on the strange placement of the body, arms folded across the chest like a corpse laid in a coffin, fingers curled inwards. Pinned to the fabric just above the heart was another note. This one was longer, still printed, still stained. Blood sings, listen to the chorus, every echo leads to him. J. Holloway felt something twist in her stomach. It wasn't fear. She'd long grown used to that dull companion. It was anticipation, the kind that came when you realised you were being led somewhere. Later, that day, Scotland Yard. The gas lights hummed overhead as Holloway unrolled the city map across her office desk. A mug of black tea steamed nearby, untouched. On the map she placed 3 black pins, one each at the site of the murders. The locations formed an almost perfect triangle. She pulled out a ruler and measured the distances. Too clean, she whispered. Too balanced. This wasn't about opportunity, it was design. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Hensley stepped in, face grim. You wanted the Vale girl's background. And? She used to sing. That caught Holloway's full attention. Opera, not anything grand. Dockside pubs mostly. She went by Rosie Delane on stage. Sang at the Crow's Lantern, sometimes the Hanging Bell. Anything strange about her final weeks? He hesitated. One witness, a barmaid, says Vale was seeing a man, well-dressed, gloves, always stayed in the shadows. Holloway stood. Did she give a name? Just said he called himself Dr. Lyle, no one could say where he came from or where he went. Evening, the Crow's Lantern Tavern. The tavern was dim and thick with pipe smoke, its ceilings low enough to make Holloway duck as she entered. A fiddler played something mournful in the corner, while dockworkers drank quietly at battered tables. The barmaid, Elsie, was young and nervous, her eyes flicking from Holloway to the exit like she expected someone to follow. She was sweet, Beatrice, she said, wringing her apron. She could sing like a lark, used to give the boys goosebumps. But something changed. How so? She stopped laughing, stopped singing too, said her throat was sore, but it wasn't that. Elsie leaned in. She was afraid. Afraid of Dr. Lyle? Elsie nodded. He'd come in just before close, never spoke to anyone but her. Slipped her something once, a little black book. I saw it, bound in leather, no writing on the front. She kept it in her bag. Where is it now? No one's seen it since she died. Holloway's jaw clenched. A missing book. A man in gloves. Notes that read like sermons. She was missing something. But what? Later that night, Holloway's flat. She stared into the mirror above the fireplace, her own reflection lit in flickering gaslight. Her rooms were quiet, but the silence felt watched, like the shadows were listening. She pulled out the 3 notes and laid them on the mantelpiece. Even shadows have a master. The blade was only the beginning. Blood sings. Listen to the chorus. She closed her eyes, letting the phrases echo. It felt like a puzzle, like a code, a chorus, a master, echoes, blood. She opened her eyes, and suddenly it clicked. Not copycats, she whispered. Choir boys. Someone, perhaps many, was reenacting ritualized death. A performance, carefully staged. The killer wasn't working alone, or at least, he wasn't the start. She reached for her pen. Working theory. Jay is not the killer, he is the herald, the first voice of many. Each victim plays a part in a sequence, carefully chosen for symbolic reasons. Singer, seamstress, orphan worker. Locations forming a symbol, likely ritualistic. Dr. Lyle, maybe alias. Check medical registries, search for connections to esoteric societies, choirs, cults. A soft knock at the window made her jump. It was Hensley, in the rain, holding a package. She opened the door. You look like hell. "You'll feel worse when you see this." He handed her the box, wooden, worn, and locked. They found it under Vale's floorboards. Inside was the missing black book, bound in cracked leather, smelled of ink and smoke. On the inside cover, scrawled in shaky handwriting, "The Gospel of the Knife for Initiates of the Fifth Echo. To see his face, one must bleed truth." Holloway stared at the words, a cold sweat rising. This wasn't over, this had just begun.